This is for everyone who has.
Hi, everybody. This is Nadia here, coming to you with another video. Um, Actually, this video is quite an interesting question that I'm answering. It is in reference to when you should tell somebody that you are a virgin or that you're waiting to have sex until marriage or abstinence. Um, and I always think that this is such a interesting, funny question because it's like you don't want to have all your business out there. Like you don't necessarily want everybody to know that you're a virgin or everybody to know that you're trying to wait. But it is kind of important information to disclose because you don't want to lead somebody on, and it could be potentially a deal breaker for both of you. So you do kind of need to say something. And so I'm just going to come to you and give you some tips, or some of the things that I used, or some of the ways that I know when to tell somebody about my commitment. So, like, one thing that I do want to just say before I get into like the couple things that you can do, or the couple things times that you should tell them, is that I wouldn't recommend saying it right off the gate. Like sometimes people come up and they're like, hey, they're trying to get to know you. And some people are just like, before you go any further, I just want to let you know that I'm not having sex till marriage and yada, yada, yada. I would not recommend doing this because it is just kind of a turn off. And even though you want it just to be out there because you're just like, I don't want to get caught up and they're not even interested because of that particular reason, it's just like, it shows a little bit of insecurity. And then also, you don't want to make that the main thing because you're more than just being abstinent until marriage. So you definitely don't want that to be the forefront. You want to show your personality. You want to show all the great characteristics you have to offer first, and then kindly just ease into that as time goes along. And I'll kind of give you some, pointers in when to actually do that. But I would definitely not recommend that. And like I said, as far as like it just kind of being a little insecure, it's like you're putting it out there because you don't want to get hurt, and you kind of maybe going from past instances or situations that have happened when maybe when uh, dudes first hear it, they're kind of like, oh, well, I don't really want to talk to you anymore and stuff like that. And so it almost just gives this defensive wall. And you don't want to do that. You want to, own your decision, be confident in it, no matter what the response might be. So that's just my little disclaimer right there, because what you're doing is beautiful and great. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to get really defensive about. Some people are for it, some people are not. So it just is what it is. I always used to look at it as it gets rid of the ones that I don't want quicker, because if they can't really, handle that or take that, then they don't necessarily, um, or they may not necessarily be the person for me. But I did used to use this when I wasn't interested in somebody and I wanted to get rid of them quick. I would say it so fast. So it's just like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't have sex. Like, stop talking to me altogether. And honestly, it worked a lot. Unfortunately, yeah, most dudes that I just didn't really want to talk to, or I knew what they were already about, I just went ahead and shut it down. So anyway, okay, so getting right into my suggestions. The first one is, I suggest that you should tell somebody that you're a virgin or that you're absent until marriage when the topic comes up. So I know that sounds very general, but the reason I'm saying this is because you do want it to be very natural in what you're saying. You don't want it to be a big deal, So if the topic happens to come up, especially since a lot of people are more open about discussing sex these days, it seems like it. Then if the topic comes up and it's not, one of those guys that you're not necessarily giving the time of day, hopefully if you're on the phone with them and you're talking to them, you kind of give them the time of day. So if the topic comes up, I would just say where you stand. And what I would do is not necessarily make it a big deal to be like, okay, you're not going to believe this, but this is what, like, don't hype it up. Just, say, actually, I'm waiting until marriage. And maybe even go into depth about why. you decided to do it, but it should just be casual conversation and then move on to the next topic. The reason I recommend this is because it's just more natural. You don't feel the anxiety or that it's heightened, that you have to tell them whatever, like, okay, when am I going to say it? Okay, I'm going to say it now. It's like, no. If it naturally just happens to go to that conversation, then just naturally answer it. And then just, not a big deal. And then, let them process it a little bit. And you can typically be able to you could typically tell, I guess, like when somebody is receptive to it, or, if they're not necessarily receptive to it. So I just think, that's the best way to do it. Okay, so on to suggestion number two. Let's just say that the topic didn't come up and that, you are knowing that you need to say something, but you don't necessarily know when or how to say it. This is my recommendation. So, if you like the person, like if it's going well, and like this is important because it should be going well, because again, you don't want everybody to know your business. So it's not like you just giving free information. So, like I said, if it's going well, then I would prepare to tell them on the third date or the third hangout or whatever. And the reason I recommend this is because I feel like if it goes beyond that, then it starts to feel like you're leading somebody on, and you definitely don't want to do that. And in all honesty, I mean, the topic I feel like should come up before that, but if it doesn't, I mean, you may be on a date with a perfect gentleman. He is not bringing up the topic, at all, and he moves, slower and maybe, just a little bit different. Then I would definitely go ahead and get in that mindset that you might want to just ease that in there. And you could just simply say, I like you, and hopefully the feeling is mutual. But before we go any further, I would just like to let you know, this is kind of important and I don't want to necessarily lead you on. And I think it's definitely respected. Um, in that. And the reason I say also, just make sure it's going well, because you don't want to waste your breath telling somebody and the date sucks. Like, what? Like, if you go on the first date, you know, um, you don't necessarily have to tell them. If it's not going good, you don't have to tell them. But like, let's say that it went well, and the topic didn't come up the second day. Oh, it went well. You guys have been talking on the phone, texting, or whatever. And then like the third hangout or the third date, you're like, I kind of see this going somewhere. You need to let them know and just figure out how you want to ease into the conversation. Like I said earlier, you can always say, I do kind of want to talk to you about a little something before we go further, because I, do like you and I feel like we're kind of talking a lot. So I just want to put this out there, and I think that it's respected. I think that you absolutely need to do it. I wouldn't necessarily do it before the third date, and I definitely wouldn't do it after, because you also don't want to hold yourself up too, because you don't know how they're going to react to that. So when you tell them by like the third date, it's still early in the game where you don't necessarily get your feelings too hurt if they're not interested anymore. So that's my recommendation. Okay, so before we depart each other in this wonderful time we've had together, I want to put one more bug in your ear. And this is about the whole thing about everybody knowing your business. I was going to say, I kind of didn't mind it. I was more the person who owned the fact that, look, I'm waiting. I'm a church girl, so what, and very confident with it. But what I noticed is that even though everybody didn't know, um, I was okay with a few people knowing, because what happened to me was that it was kind of word of mouth a little bit. So, like, sometimes when somebody would be interested in talking to you, sometimes somebody would say, well, this is kind of how they are. So, they go ahead and give them, that upfront thing almost for you. And some people may not like that. But for me, it was kind of cool because it saved me the conversation. And then also, like, this is exactly like what happened to me and my husband. So around our third date, it didn't come up. sex did not come up as a topic. And so I said, I need to say something, to him. And lo and behold, when I mentioned it, he replied to me, "Oh, I already knew that." And I'm just like, "Oh, really?" And part of me is like, wow, people talk about me like that. But part of me was actually relieved because it was like, he wanted to talk to me regardless. Okay. So that was definitely encouraging for me. And later on, of course, I realized that, he was doing the same walk as me. So that's why, it really didn't matter to him. And I just thought that was cool. So I was just going to say, don't necessarily always shut it down, or be insecure about everybody knowing. Sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then I also just wanted to encourage you. You're doing an amazing, wonderful thing. God is definitely pleased. I do not regret my decision of waiting. I definitely believe that God has blessed my marriage, because of, our decision, and I know He'll absolutely do the same for you. Definitely don't get, discouraged or start to get anxious about maybe not finding the one. It'll come, and I wanted to just leave you with a scripture to kind of help you, if you're feeling a little anxious about it, and it is Proverbs 16:3. I'm going to read it off the paper. And it says, "Commit to the Lord in whatever you do, and your plans will succeed." So I would just commit this to the Lord, keep Him present in your relationships, in your life, and then, just, walk with Him and help Him lead you on the way. Don't let. Alrighty, so that is it for my video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you today. If you have some questions that are on the topic of abstinence, feel free to comment below, and hopefully I can get to them, maybe even do a video on them. I'm definitely going to try to post a couple more videos more frequently, more often, because I do think that it probably, is helping a lot of you, because I know that I definitely needed help when I was going through it, and I didn't necessarily have this resource. So anyway, like I said before, comment below. I've enjoyed this talk, and until next time, bye.
But my lips too big, I got no hips. My hair is stripping every other day. Oh Lord, please help me love myself just the way that you made me.